So I've had a bit of interest in my Vray Ocean Shader, which is still very much work in progress. So I thought I'd just do this quick video just to show an overview of where I'm at the moment. Yeah, basically it's nothing special. It isn't physically accurate. It's not particularly fast at the moment. There's still a hell of a lot that I have to tweak. But I figured I'd show you guys where I'm up to now, and how you can go about creating it yourself. This isn't going to be a step-by-step tutorial. It's just going to be an overview of basically what components I'm using to create the effects so far. Okay, now just a few things, obviously using V-Ray. Just for the lighting setup for the demo purposes and my testing purposes, I'm just using a V-Ray Sun. The main thing is to make sure you tick invisible. You may have noticed it in my test renders. I didn't have that ticked, which is why there's all these little sparkly white dots. That's actually the reflection of the sun object. So if you tick invisible, you won't get those little dots like I've been getting. About the ocean itself, really simple. It's just using the Houdini Ocean plugin for 3ds Max. Just do a simple Google search, you'll be able to find it. I haven't got it animated just for this demo, but yeah, I'm not going to go over any of the features or anything, but it's easy enough to work out. So yeah, alright, let's jump into it. Bring up the material editor. I've just got a couple of little extra bits, but basically this is just an overview of the shader as it stands at the moment. So I'll break it down for you. Basically, I'll just fire up V-Ray. I'm just using V-Ray RT just because it's a lot quicker. It doesn't affect the final output though. Alright, so I'll assign the full shader. So there we go, this is where the shader is currently. So basically I'll start from just the basic ocean itself. Alright, so all I have here is just a V-Ray material. The diffuse is mapped, I'll go over that in a minute. Reflection wise, basically pure reflection but using Fresnel reflections. Refraction, just standard, it's been mapped, same with the glossiness. I did turn off double-sided, not that it makes that much of a difference. But yeah, that's the basics for the parameters in the V-Ray material itself. Where everything happens is basically in the maps. So in the diffuse map, let's just bring out my light material, there we go. Basically I have a gradient ramp, which is, assign that so you can see, basically it's based on the Z direction, so up. So basically it just graduates from lighter colors down to deeper colors, which helps fake the subsurface scattering look. So as you can see on the peaks it gets lighter, and as the waves actually dip down it gets darker. Now that for the diffuse is piped into a color correct just to darken it down, and the original is piped into the refraction map, so that gives you some colored refraction. Then bump map for the ocean is just a really simple noise, nothing special. That just helps add some extra detail to it. And then I have, so that's just put in the bump, pretty low value. I think No, just default value of 30. There you go. Then I have I'm not sure if this will display it properly, a fall-off map. Yeah, not displaying it properly. Yeah, just a fall-off map into the refraction glossiness, which is just a distance blend on the local Z. So once again, it'll refract more in the shallow parts. I mean, in the deep parts, sorry. So yeah, when that's all piped in, basically this is what we end up with. So that's just your simple, basic ocean shader. So you can see what I mean here with using the gradient ramp in both the refraction map and diffuse map, how it gives you these colors. I'll just disable that from the refraction. And put my refraction, come on, sorry for the slowness. So yeah, I'll just put my refraction back to black. But you can see how, I mean, if you want something that renders really fast, you can go with that without any refraction. But yeah, once you plug the refraction map in using the gradient, it helps give you that subsurface illuminated look with the varying depth levels. So yeah, that's the basic ocean part itself. Then that gets blended with the foam. So the foam gets blended basically over the top. So to create the foam, I'm using just a standard texture. I believe this was from cgtextures.com. All I did was take it into Photoshop, crush it so that it's pretty much just the foam. So yeah, just black and white, just used as a mask. And I also made it tileable. So that was just simply clone brush, careful cloning around certain items, certain regions of it. But yeah, so I just made that tileable. Not that it's actually tiling in this one because of the scale, but yeah. Now that's used as a mask for another blend material, which is simply, I've got 71 for the mix amount, but basically that blend material is made up of a standard Vray material, which has a cellular map for the bump. So just plug that in, zoom in here. So it's just very simple, small scale cellular map for the bump. Then I also have another cellular map for that, which I'm using to drive the color through a diffuse map. So basically that cellular just has a very slight green tint. Now colors will obviously depend on your ocean itself and the environment that's going to be in. So yeah, that the two cellulars go into the V-Ray material, and then I also have it going into just the color into a V-Ray light material, which gives you basically 100% self-illumination. But then they get blended together so that it's not fully self-illuminated. So that way your shadows aren't completely black. That's just sort of the way foam is, and then if I zoom in, you'll be able to see the effect of the bump a bit. Okay. So yeah, you can sort of see what the bump does. Cellular works great for emulating the surface of foam. And yeah, that then gets piped back into that blend material. So it's blending that ocean shader itself with that foam, once again using that bitmap as a mask, which gets you the end result. So like I said, it's still very much work in progress. It's not too bad on rendering time, but I've just got a few hints if you want to speed it up. Basically you can, well, like I said, you can remove the refraction map so that there's no refraction at all. Otherwise you can remove the refraction glossiness, and you'll see that there isn't that much of a difference. It's just not quite as like subsurface scattering effect, but it does render a fair bit faster. So yeah, you can remove the refraction glossiness if you want. Another thing is if you're rendering using global illumination, because say you've got a ship on the water and you want the ship itself to still be affected by the global illumination. And I think I've just got a simple cylinder here. Bring that in. So there, you've just got that simple cylinder in the water. There's no global illumination at the moment. So that's why it looks pretty crap. But if you right click and go to your V-Ray properties for the ocean object, if you leave generate GI on but turn receive GI off, it means that it will send out global illumination samples but won't be receiving any, so it's not going to be too bad for rendering times. I'll just jump into my render setup. Close you. Go to production, indirect illumination on, jump back, fire up active shade again. So now you can see that that cylinder is being affected by, like, it's receiving global illumination from the ocean itself, but the ocean isn't receiving any GI, so it definitely helps speed up the rendering. Of course you could do separate passes and all of that, but that's just one easy way to do it all in the same shot. But yeah, that's pretty much about it for the ocean shader. Now once your ocean gets larger, you're going to find with one single image it's going to tile way too much for the foam. So I'll just get rid of that cylinder. So what you could do, which I've done here, is basically it's the same deal. The foam using the cellular, and then instead of using just one texture, I've loaded in two of them. So I've got this one, which I've then just color corrected within 3ds Max itself, but I also made it tileable. Then I've got another foam texture here, which I had already made tileable and converted to grayscale. That's then mixed based on a noise map. That gets piped into another mix where it's mixed with a third foam texture. So that first mix is piped into the color one of the second mix with the other foam texture, and then that is once again mixed with a noise, color corrected to make it not so opaque, and then use that as the mask in the overall blend material. And I'll fire up active shade. Now with this one as well, I've also reduced the visibility of the foam, which you can control through your masks. So that's the original, and then I'll apply that shader so you can see that the foam is less visible. Also it's more broken up, which means it's going to tile a hell of a lot better over large surfaces. And yeah, being less visible, it's not going to be too overpowering once you add white caps, which I'll show you a technique to do that. So yeah, that's a great way of breaking up your textures over large surfaces, mainly because with the noises being procedural, and using them to actually cut out the tileable textures, yeah, it just certainly helps break it up a lot more. So keep that in mind for if you're doing large expanses and want the foam, but I definitely do recommend doing what I've done here and reduce the foam visibility, just so that it's not too overpowering, because if you imagine along the top of this wave you're going to have white caps with foam trailing behind it, so it can get quite foamy if you leave it too visible. But also on a calmer sea you're not going to have anywhere near as much foam. So just keep that in mind. Now I'll just pause the video and load up another scene to show you what you can do about the white caps. Okay, so this is just another simple scene, once again made with Houdini Ocean, but this time I've got some animation on it. So what we're going to use is the tension, tension modifier. So it's written by Grant Adam, and it's available from rpmanager.com. Just have a look around their website for tension modifier. It is free for personal and academic use, but if you want to use it commercially, it's only $20. And they've got versions from 3ds Max 6 right up to 2012. So yeah, it hasn't been updated for 2013 yet. But basically, if you install that, and I'm not going to go over all of the features, I'm just going to show you how you can utilize this to make white caps. So select our plane, and I'm going to add the tension modifier. So what I want to do is toggle vert colors. Don't really want, I'll just pin the, so basically we want to turn off, we don't want the expansion, we don't want convex, basically that's what we want there. So just recapture that pose, and you'll see as it starts moving along, you start to get basically all of the peaks of the waves get this red. So you can play around with the, what are we doing? We're doing compression with the scale. Expansion. So I might do that. Put you back up. Lower you down so that we mainly get the peaks. Now this is based on the amount of polys you have, so as you can see the texture isn't very high res, but if you actually let's go. If you actually put the res up, and we'll just recapture the pose. So yeah, as you can see, as it animates along, it's mainly picking up the peaks, which is where you'd want your foam to be generated. So yeah, basically what you can do is use rendering, render to texture. So just select that, render to texture. Come on. That's fine, whatever. And yeah, basically you can render it out through render to texture, whatever resolution you want. Doesn't really need to be that big. Otherwise, you can just do a top-down render. But basically what you want to do is render that out. Then I took it into, so just rendered the whole sequence out. Play around with these settings obviously to get a bit less if you don't want it all. Don't want too much red. Brought that into After Effects, and basically I turned it black and white, blurred it, and used a time offset, I think, or a time displacement maybe, basically to generate trails that fade off behind it. So if we zoom in here, you can sort of see is it going to update? Yeah. So yeah, you can see how it leaves trails behind. Then I brought that back in as an animated bitmap, and just super simple materials, just using that here. Used it as a mask for a blend material, and come on. Oops, that'll be why. Sorry, just add the tension modifier again. I've still got vert colors on, so if I toggle, there we go. And I'll just bring up active shade. But yeah, you can see how it's created peaks, and then it animates along with the wave, and you get these little trails behind it. So you can use that as a mask, animated mask for foam, to generate white caps. But yeah, I haven't really gone in that far with it at the moment. Just trying out a few different techniques, but this is one that I came up with that it's easy enough to do, simple enough. It's not the best results, but at least it's something. So give that a try. I'm sorry that this video's been a bit all over the place. I didn't really have any time to prepare. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a rough idea of how I created the material, how you can create it yourself. Like I said, this is far from being finished. But yeah, so for those people who've been asking, this will give you a jump start. Alright, thanks for watching.